Hi, it's Kit Alowitz, and welcome to another Leadership Journey video segment specific to the summit. Today I want to talk about neuroplasticity and Erno Rubik and his 1974 invention of the Rubik's Cube. This little six-sided monster puzzle has been the victim of a lot of frustration and even cussing, at least once or twice by me over the past 6 months. The Rubik's Cube was invented by Erno Rubik in 1974 and has sold some staggering 450 million cubes. That's a cube for every American in the United States of America. And then, even crazier, the world record for solving this little monster, that being all the sides having the same color, as of 2018 was astounding 4.22 seconds. 4.22 seconds. Let me just refer to that real quickly. That's like waiting. Yeah, there you go. Being able to solve the whole cube with all its sides in 4.2 seconds with so many color variations, it's actually very wild to me. Take my time, for example, in trying to solve the cube. If you add just a simple number of 4 minutes in front of the 4.22 seconds number the world record has, well, that's where I am, or I come in most cases in trying to solve the Rubik's Cube. However, the cool part is I can now actually solve the Rubik's Cube. Today, we actually want to showcase several of my fellow colleagues, friends, and other friends I have in a friendly competition to see who can solve the Rubik's Cube the fastest. You are about to witness, to my knowledge, the first competition of its kind on ENH soil. Yes, today 6 of us, friendly competitors, are about to go head-to-head in a friendly competition for Anderson-Hauser bragging rights as to the fastest Rubik's Cube solver in the company. Okay, so just before we get there, let me share just a little bit about the Rubik's Cube, why it was so darn hard for me to get it, and connect it to this idea of neuroplasticity. You'll remember that neuroplasticity, it's the idea that irregardless of where we are in life, our brains are still very much capable of learning, being flexible, trying new things, and just frankly being curious. We just have to want it. Today's feature is about 6 of us who bended our brains and figured out the patterns and the new thinking required to solve the Rubik's Cube. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I have to tell you that this was one of the harder things for me to try to figure out. And I'm trying to think, why was it so hard? I mean, it's just 6 sides. Well, I want to say that it could have something to do with the fact that the nature of the cube, with its 6 sides, each having 9 squares, it essentially equates to some 43 quintillion possible outcomes. Yes, quintillion, 43 quintillion. Now, to give you a sense of what kind of number this is, a quintillion is equal to a 1 followed by 18 zeros, or a million trillion, or a billion billions, or a million millions. Wow, yeah, right? Now, I might be tempted also or maybe I actually want to thank our very own Sean Boucher for creating this madness, or at least for me, the madness, and probably spilling over into my kids. Sean dazzled us back late last year as one of our homework videos, he solving the Rubik's Cube in just under 2 minutes. Well, that got me a little curious, and while I could have tried to solve the Rubik's Cube decades ago, maybe back in 1994, which is when I first remember having a cube placed in front of me, well, the timing or the curiosity or the challenge or the wonder just what didn't present itself back then in the 80s. However, after Sean wooed us with his Rubik's Cube skills, I got a little curious. So I began by first teasing my 5 kids, 2 of those 5 adopted through marriage, to become like Sean. I upped the ante to each of my starving college student kids with a fresh, crisp $100 bill to each of them that could solve and learn the Rubik's Cube. 2 of the 5 did so. I then offered even more money if they could then solve the cube like Sean in under 2 minutes. 2 of the 5 did. Well, then it became obviously apparent that Dad would have to try to figure this out also. And that's when the pain began. This proved to be one of the hardest of the neuroplasticity sort of experiments I've tried since our journey began. It proved harder than trying to ride the unrideable bike. It proved harder to do than learning to do the free fall yoga trapeze act. There were, in fact, many days on my cube journey where I was trying to apply all the sequence and the steps to try to solve the cube that I literally wanted to pull my hair out. Although maybe there was a connection between some of this frustration pulling my hair out to the fact that this guy also doesn't necessarily love board games or thinking games or escape room games or Sudoku games or word puzzles. I have many Neanderthal moments in trying to crack the Rubik's Cube code. In fact, I had to meet with my oldest son some 21 different times and then countless hours afterwards on my own to get to the sequential lessons learned or acquired to go from having no idea how to solve the Rubik's Cube to today where I can actually solve the Rubik's Cube, albeit slow. My oldest kid kept track, or I asked him to keep track of the time that it took him to learn the Rubik's Cube consistently, and that would be 3.14 hours. I also kept track of how long it took me to solve and learn the Rubik's Cube consistently, a whopping, staggering, embarrassing 34.5 hours. Ugh. I racked up pages and pages of notes on my formula, and here they are now, pages and pages that I had to take to try to figure out the algorithms and figure out things like, okay, you got to do lefty algorithms and then righty algorithms and then flip it over and then flick it back and then flick one side and then flick another and then do another righty and then another lefty. All to try to figure it out. And yet, on the far side of complexity, after all that time, I've learned some very valuable lessons through this process. The most valuable lesson I learned in this idea of neuroplasticity is this. If you understand the framework and you follow the process, you will get better results. Trying to solve many of life's challenges perhaps comes down to understanding the framework and following a process for getting better results. Let me illustrate. You see the numbers right now behind me that are showing up? If I gave you 1 minute to count sequentially as high as you could from 1 to 54, with the numbers behind you, which all are there, most of us, from my experience, get to about 11 in the first minute. However, if I go back and provide you just one piece of information, it's a very valuable piece of information, that being a framework or a pattern, it can make and will make a huge difference. Here's the pattern. If you take the image behind me and you divide it into 9 boxes and start counting sequentially from left to right, top to bottom, all of the numbers fall in a sequential order from left to right, top to bottom. Now, after giving you this new, easy information, if I ask you to go back and count again, I give you 1 minute, most of you, with just the simple information, will actually get to 54, all the way to 54. To go from round 1 getting to number 11, and then round 2 getting to 54, and the only thing I give you is just a little framework and some process advice, that's better results. Well, the same exact thing happened to me with the Rubik's Cube. I got weekly framework lessons and process lessons from Kieran, and I quickly learned that it behooved me to keep track of the process and the lessons on all these pages that Kieran provided to me each week. Slowly, steadily, with lots of frustration and sequential memorizing, I went from nope, can't solve the cube to yep, I can solve the cube. Well, anyway, you're about to witness, to my knowledge, the first Enderson-Hauser Rubik's Cube competition right here, right now. Let me introduce our challengers today. Seeking celebrity status by claiming the throne as the Enderson-Hauser Rubik's Cube champion. Contestant number 1, Sean Bouchain. Uncontested perhaps so far, reigning champion, age in his 40s. Kieran Alowitz, Rubik's Cube Yoda teacher to this old man, age in his 20s. Kareem Key, champion Rubik's Cuber in Texas among Enderson-Hauser employees, here today to perhaps claim a larger geography as Enderson-Hauser champion, age in his 40s. Next, Mark Rubino, Forberg Smith's Rubik's Cube champion, also seeking a claim to larger geography in the Anderson-Hauser world as bragging rights with being the #1 champion. Age, older. Next, Kit Alowitz, slow Rubik's Cuber solver and not likely a contender for the championship today. Nonetheless, I'm here and I'm giving it a shot. Age, late 40s. And finally, contestant number 6, our special guest and Mark Rubino's Rubik's Cube secret weapon in keeping the championship crown within the family, Mark Rubino's daughter, Rosalie Rubino. Fast and dangerous Rubik's Cube solver, age 11. These are the contestants. May the best Rubik's Cube solver prevail under these heavy crowd watching today conditions and remote virtual attendees watching. Now, to tease our audience, as well as our contestants, the winner of today's friendly competition will be the proud recipient of this, it being the world's biggest working, actually, Rubik's Cube item on the planet. Now, lastly, I've been practicing hard such that I won't fall victim to my nerves in this competition against the friendly competitors I have in solving the cube. So perhaps, maybe just to prove to Sean Boucher that Kit Alowitz can actually solve the cube, here's me on Fast Play solving the cube. To give you a sense of how fast the cube can actually be solved, check this out. Wow, crazy, huh? All right, so for my powerful emotional close to today's competition, here is our very own Kieran Alowitz solving 48 cubes very quickly, then displaying them to spell something that even you and I may recognize. Take a look. Kieran, take it away. And now, my friends, after me talking way too long, let the competition begin.